Well, hello there, beautiful souls, and welcome to another Mindful Monday. As we inch closer to the holidays, it is the perfect time to talk about literally like one of my favorite topics. Can you guess what that is? I know you're not going to guess in a million years, but it's something that we all have, and most of us fail to recognize. It is the ego. So, what is the ego, Erica? Well, you know what? I'm glad you asked. The ego is not something that we should be ashamed of or even make our enemy. And in some circles, I definitely hear where the ego is bad and you have to have ego death. And there are certainly benefits to an ego death. But the ego is what I would describe as maybe like an emotional armor of sorts. It's there to protect us, but sometimes it can go into overdrive. And when it does that, a lot of times it isolates us. So think about the holiday season and you're maybe with family and your ego is maybe going a little bit into overdrive, shall we say, and you maybe just want to get away or you want to isolate, you don't want to be around people. Know that that voice that says, I have the right to be, or how could they, how dare they, don't they know, fill in the blank. I know you might be thinking that it's you, but no, that is your ego. That is a defense mechanism that you have to protect you. And the ego shows up and shows out during the holiday season the most. Can you guess why? I'm sure you already know. We are with family. We're with people sometimes we haven't seen in years, sometimes decades, and it wants to protect us. So how does the ego show up? Think about, well, let's say this in like 3 sneaky ways. One is easy, simple, comparison. The other, judgment. And the third, defensiveness. So if you ever find yourself sizing yourself up against your cousin, your third cousin across the table as you're maybe passing the dressing or the stuffing, that's what that is. That is your ego. Casting judgment, how dare they? Look at who does she think she is? Yep, that's ego again. Feeling defensive, feel like you have to defend your position, who you are, what you do, why you chose to do X, Y, Z. That's the ego. So you might have recognized it. If not, trust me. I hope these words resonate with your soul, and the time comes and you get into maybe it's an argument or a spat with somebody, and my voice, my lovely voice, hopefully ringing in your ear like, oh, that's the ego. Now you know. So here are a few tips of how you can basically put the ego in check. When you realize that, when you hear Erica in your voice saying, this is just your defense mechanism, you don't really, have energy around this, pause, breathe. If you can, before reacting, and even if you are in the moment and you are, on 10, on 100, it's okay to stop. You do not have to go all the way in. I know sometimes we are making our point and they are going to hear us, even if we know, oh, I know I'm going too far. It's okay to stop and say, you know what? I just need to take a break. Trust me, it has saved plenty of relationships because you know what happens there. It has saved family feuds, a lot of time that could be better spent by connecting and being with loved ones. The other way that you can check your ego, or how tips for, really understanding the ego, is choosing love over fear. The ego thrives in fear. And so making a conscious choice to act from a place of love, regardless of the fears, regardless of the limiting beliefs that come up, because they will, that's the ego's job, remember? Choose love and choose abundance every single time. Now, lastly, what you can do when, you notice, again, comparison, when you notice yourself being defensive or when you notice yourself starting to judge you, the situation, somebody else, you can simply ask yourself the question, is this me or is this my ego? And gosh darn it, you will get an answer. The question can simply just change the course of the conversation. Trust me, because what you are doing is you are reprogramming your nervous system. I could go on, as some of you know, talking about trauma. That is a place where I live and breathe, because so much of how we operate today is based on past hurts, pain that we're still carrying today. And so by giving ourselves a moment, even if it's just a second, to actually respond versus to react to somebody else who might be triggered in that moment, right? And then now you've just got two people going at it, and it's one trigger and another trigger, and it just, you don't know, no one knows how to stop, because we're all too in our trauma response system to access our critical thinking part of our brain. And so by simply asking ourselves, is this me or is this my ego? It allows your nervous system to settle. And so from that settled, a little more calm space, I'm not going to say you know, some people are great at going from 100 back to 0. Some people are getting at 50. But when the closer you get to your, what we call like the window resilience, or some people say window of tolerance, the more you have access to your critical thinking part of your brain, which says, hey, this doesn't really make sense. I am overreacting to a very small thing, and I shouldn't be acting like this, but something in me, right? The emotion within me is coming up in this moment. So again, by asking that question, by taking a pause or taking a breath, and now it's not just a breath in, because if you think about it, when you get scared, what happens? You go, that activates your nervous system. So you want to make sure it's that exhale, you get it out. It's the in, relax, grounding down. And then, of course, lastly, you choose love over fear, a place of love. Choose a response that you wish you would be getting in that moment. Now, I know that one's a little bit more difficult, but it all depends on your level of awareness. And remember, you have the power to choose how you react in every single situation. But it takes awareness. And I know it can be very difficult. I know years of programming, years of operating out of trauma is not something that happens overnight for most people. For some it can, but it takes practice. And you do have a choice, but you just have to be in the environment, create the space, create the environment from which you can start creating the life you want, responding versus reacting. Letting go of the pain and the burdens that you have held on to, consciously or unconsciously. So let's try to make this holiday season a time for true connection and unconditional love. You know, it's, after all, that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, what matters are the people that are around you and who support you. And if you find yourself in a place with unsupportive people, maybe this is the wake-up call you need to find those who are willing to support you, because I guarantee you they're out there. And if ever I can do anything to support you, to be a guide, to help you with triggers and help you with your ego, know that I am available and I am rooting for you. As all, thank you for being with me for another Mindful Monday. Hopefully this resonated with your soul, and the information in here will come into your awareness exactly when you need it. That is my hope for all of you. And know that you got this. Sending you all the love, hugs, and positivity. And I'll see you next week for sure on this Mindful Monday. Bye.